Something is happening in Utah's reality TV universe. Something bigger, deeper, and more dramatic than anyone expected. For years, Heather Gay stood as the face of the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, the one woman brave enough to push back against perfection culture, Mormon expectations, and a lifetime spent trying to fit a mold. But now, another force has arrived. Hulu's breakout hit The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, a show so explosive that it became the platform's most watched unscripted series of 2024. Fans instantly wondered if these two worlds, Bravo's Salt Lake chaos and Hulu's Mormon mom empire, were destined to clash. Was this competition? A rivalry? A quiet battle for who really represents Utah's women? But then Heather Gay shocked everyone. Because instead of shade, instead of defensiveness, she revealed something no one saw coming. Before we dive into this twisting story of identity, evolution, and unexpected support, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Your support keeps these deep dive stories coming. What makes this moment so compelling is that Heather Gay could have easily felt threatened. The Hulu cast is everything she once represented. Young, devout Mormon wives with picture-perfect husbands, multiple children, and a commitment to an institution Heather herself walked away from. Their lives reflect the chapter she tried to escape, a chapter she spent years unpacking on Bravo, in her memoir Bad Mormon, and most recently in her chilling and emotional docuseries Surviving Mormonism. And yet, when asked about the new show, Heather didn't hesitate. She didn't retreat. She didn't compare ratings. She didn't even question whether the Slum W cast could overshadow what RHOSLC has built. Instead, she said she champions them. She supports them. She roots for them from afar. That alone would have been enough to stun fans. But then she said something that cut even deeper. Heather admitted that watching these women who still cling to the structure, the faith, the idealism she used to hold on to, feels like looking at a version of herself from 20 years ago. The pristine Mormon life she devoted herself to before everything changed, before she questioned doctrine, before she confronted the shame she carried, before she found her own independence and voice. She explained that these women are Salt Lake City housewives 20 years ago, and that their Mormon identities will likely change as their worlds expand, as they gain independence, and as they're exposed to life outside their religious bubble. Exactly how it happened to her. That statement wasn't judgment. It was prediction. It was a reflection from someone who lived the story they're currently starting. And that is where the tension begins to simmer. Because while Heather is cheering them on, she's also acknowledging a spiritual and emotional unraveling that could be waiting for them down the line, one that she knows all too well. But she isn't warning them. She isn't pushing them away from it. She's simply watching, curious, almost protective. Like she's watching her past walk into the future she now inhabits. At the same time, the success of The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives has created a media storm. Fans are choosing sides. Bravo loyalists, Hulu newcomers, Mormon defenders, ex-Mormon survivors. But Heather refuses to play along. She says there's no rivalry because women in the industry are too rare to tear each other down. That in a world where outspoken, powerful women are constantly judged, the only real choice is to uplift each other. Her stance feels shockingly mature, shockingly supportive, and completely at odds with the typical reality TV brand of feuds and competitiveness. But here's where the story becomes even more twisted. Heather Gay isn't just supporting these women, she's identifying with them. Deeply. Personally. She applauds them for calling themselves Mormon wives, something she once clung to, but later dismantled in public. She sees herself in their faith, their loyalty, their eagerness to present a perfect life. She sees the innocence, the hope, the devotion. And she also sees the cracks forming. Cracks she once ignored. Cracks that eventually shattered everything she thought she knew. RHOSLC has spent 4 seasons watching Heather break free from the church, expose the pain behind her devotion, and confront its darker corners. From her black eye controversy to the explosive claims in her memoir to her emotional docuseries interviewing survivors, Heather has faced backlash, criticism, and scrutiny. She has carried the weight of being the ex-Mormon voice in a city where silence was safer. She has stood alone many times. She has lost friends. She has spoken truths that people begged her not to speak. Now she watches a new generation of Mormon women being introduced to the world, women who are still deeply rooted in the culture she left behind. And it would be easy for her to resent them, to be triggered by them, to distance herself from them. But instead, she watches with fascination. When Heather says, "I champion them," it isn't flattery. It's something else, something gentler, something that hints at the years of emotional unpacking she's done. Because she knows what happens when those roots start to loosen. She knows what it costs to question everything you've been taught. She knows how it feels to be shunned, doubted, or misunderstood. She knows the grief of leaving a faith that shaped your entire existence. She knows the guilt of stepping into independence, and she knows the freedom that comes after. But the women of Slamu, they're still at the beginning, still playing the part, still wearing the mask, and Heather is watching. She has become, in a strange and poetic way, both their supporter and their future reflection. Her life has transformed dramatically since joining the Housewives universe. She admits her entire identity has evolved. She shed emotional burdens, built businesses, expanded opportunities, and stepped into a version of herself she didn't know she was allowed to become. She even describes herself now as totally a feminist, a statement unimaginable for the Heather who once tried to follow every rule the church gave her. So when you break down this entire story, the Hulu hype, the Bravo dominance, the religion, the evolution, the identity crisis, it becomes clear that this is not just a tale of two shows. It's a tale of two lives, two eras, two versions of womanhood shaped by the same culture, but split by time. And yet, the most surprising part of this entire story is what Heather Gay refuses to indulge in: fear. She is not afraid of being replaced, not afraid of the Hulu cast stealing her spotlight, not afraid of younger, more traditional Mormon wives becoming the new faces of Utah on television. Instead, she embraces it. She says there is enough space for all of them, enough success for every woman willing to show her life, flaws included. And in her words, there's a powerful truth: truly we're all each other's got. That phrase hits differently when it comes from someone who lost so much after leaving the faith she was raised in, someone who was told her choices made her unworthy, someone who carried shame for decades. Heather built a new identity from the ashes of her old one, and now she sees a new group of women building theirs, whether they realize it yet or not. By supporting them, she isn't just being kind. She's rewriting what Mormon womanhood can look like on a public stage. She's proving that empowerment doesn't require rivalry, that visibility doesn't require competition, that telling your truth doesn't diminish someone else's. But beneath all of this is another question, one that fans keep whispering about. If Heather sees these women as her former self, does she believe their journeys will mirror her own? Will fame expose cracks in their faith? Will independence push them towards self-discovery? And if that happens, will their stories become the very ones Heather now uses her platform to amplify? Stories of women questioning tradition, reclaiming identity, and challenging the structures that once defined them. Heather isn't answering those questions directly, maybe because she doesn't want to assume anything, maybe because she knows how painful that transformation can be, or maybe because she understands that every woman, whether on Bravo or Hulu, deserves to find her own truth in her own time. What she is saying, however, is that she will be watching the Slamu cast with interest, not to judge, but because she sees a timeline unfolding. One she knows too intimately, one she survived. And this is where the story finds its emotional core. Heather Gay didn't just become a reality star. She became a symbol, controversial, flawed, outspoken, but undeniably powerful. A woman who lost her religion but found her voice. A woman who left a culture but kept her compassion. A woman who knows what it's like to be silenced and now chooses to amplify others. And whether viewers love or hate her, no one can deny this. She changed the landscape of Utah storytelling on television. Now, with The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives rising to massive success, it feels like two eras of Mormon womanhood, past and present, are finally colliding on screen. Not in combat, but in contrast. Not as rivals, but as reflections. The Hulu cast represents the beginning of a journey. Heather Gay represents what happens when that journey leads to liberation, heartbreak, discovery, and the courage to rebuild. Her support isn't just generous, it's symbolic. It's a reminder that stories evolve, beliefs shift, and women grow even when the world around them begs them to stay the same. And in Heather's eyes, the Slumbabu cast will evolve too. Maybe slowly, maybe dramatically, maybe publicly, maybe privately. But evolution is inevitable when visibility expands your world. Heather knows that because she lived it, survived it, and built an empire from it. As she continues to expand her med spa business, take on new projects, and embrace her self-proclaimed feminist identity, one truth becomes clear. Heather Gay is no longer defined by the faith she left, but by the freedom she gained. And she's watching an entire new generation of women begin a path she once walked alone. Except this time, they're not alone. They have platforms, fans, a spotlight, and someone cheering for them, not from the sidelines, but from experience. Whether Bravo or Hulu, ex-Mormon or devout Mormon, housewives or Mormon wives, Heather Gay is reminding the world that Utah's women are complicated, powerful, messy, brave, and deserving of their stories being told. And as this new chapter unfolds, one thing is certain. The rise of these two shows isn't about competition. It's about evolution. It's about identity. It's about what happens when women reclaim their narratives in the one place they were never supposed to speak loudly, the public eye. If you've enjoyed this deep dive into the shifting world of Utah reality TV, make sure you hit like, drop a comment, and subscribe for more stories just like this. Your support keeps this channel growing, and we have so many more incredible twists, revelations, and behind-the-scenes stories coming your way. Stay tuned, because in Utah, the drama is never just drama. It's transformation.